I've trained male trainees.
Okay.
And I always find it funny when I show up at a door and it's like they look past me and start talking to the trainee until you have to tell them, like, I'm the appraiser. You need to talk to me.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
Welcome, everybody, to the Appraiser Coach Podcast. My name is Dustin Harris. I am your host, and as you can see, we've got some great guests in the wings. Can't wait to introduce them. First, want to pause and remind you that we are sponsored, of course, by some great companies. Of course, my favorite, Alamode. Alamode is the software that I use, and I use it on a daily basis, folks, to help me to type up my reports. You should check them out at going to alamode.com or call them at 800-ALAMODE. Of course, OREP is my E&O of choice. I know we don't think about E&O, but you should check them out. Go to orep.org. That's OREP.org. Well, I want to introduce two of my good friends to the program. And I can't even tell you how grateful I am that you guys are on. Cindy Cullen and Brianne Ledbetter, good friends of mine. Both of them have been, in fact, I was going to say both of them have been in the mastermind, but Brianne, you are the longest running member of the mastermind. We'll get to that in just a second. But Cindy, I want to start with you. If you wouldn't just mind do a quick 2-minute overview and just introduce yourself to the listeners out there. I know you've been on the program before, you and JR, but catch us up.
Yeah, so I've been appraising for 20 years, on my 21st year now, 19 of those with my husband. We're in Minnesota, had a pretty decent sized business and scaled down significantly in the past year, basically just to keep our sanity.
I love that. Very good. Okay, cool. Brianne, if you don't mind just introducing yourself and a little bit of what you got into, how you got into this business.
Okay, so I'm based in Southwest Pennsylvania, and I like to tell everybody it just fell into my lap. I got a job working in the clerical and administrative position for an appraisal office back in 2020. So now 23 years, and just decided that it was something that looked like it'd be interesting to do and fell in love with doing it. I've had my own business for a little over 13 years. And in the past 13 years, things have been really good. Past few months, things have really slowed down, but we're doing everything we can to keep things up and running. So
very cool. Well, it's been fun over the years to watch both of you grow your appraisal offices. Brianne, you've been in the mastermind now for how many years is it? I don't even know. I think we always figure this up, and it always surprises me how long it's been.
I think it's been at least 8 years.
That's crazy.
It's been since it started. I'm just glad that you didn't say I was the oldest member.
Would never go there. Well, folks, I really appreciate you both being on. There's a reason I specifically wanted you to be on this month. Of course, it is March, and it is Women's History Month. And I've had the thought that it would be fun to interview a couple of women who have been in this industry long enough to really have some experiences here. So, Cindy, I want to chat with you first to just tell me a little bit about getting into the appraisal world, and if you felt like your experiences were any different than, say, a man's experience getting in. You said you've been doing this for 20 years, and JR, your husband's been doing it for 19. Talk to me a little bit about the, what brought you into this and why JR followed.
Well, so I got in, I was a legal secretary in my previous life, kind of got burnt out on people wanting to hurt each other as much as they can in the court world. But one of my friends, well, two of my friends were appraisers, and I just kind of fell into that too. I was helping them, and then I became an appraiser myself. And I love it. Well, I really loved it until the last probably couple of years. And as these issues come up more and more with, I don't know, you name it, bias, waivers, all of it, I've gotten a little burnt out on all that, but I really enjoy it. My husband.
It used to be easy. I hate to interrupt you, but it's been a little bit of a challenge the last little bit, hasn't it?
It has been. But my husband, when we met, he was a painter, and he just thought it would be great to do that too. And he just joined me right away. He took his classes while we were planning our wedding and started right after our honeymoon. So yeah, it's been great.
Tell me a little about getting into it as you know, obviously the theme today, and I'm not trying to develop, just, you know, for listeners, I'm not trying to develop a story that's not there. Maybe it's not there, but I'm curious if your experience as a woman getting into this profession was in your opinion any different than it would have been to be a different gender.
I would say that on a level, yes, but I think overall I've had really good experiences. There's definitely the oh, you're a woman, I mean, kind of thing when you get there, even though I've already scheduled that appointment. Apparently they thought I was the receptionist scheduling an appointment.
And even though your name is Cindy, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, hello. It was kind of the weird kind of things. And what surprised me, I think, more than anything was the women being surprised or being less trusting. I don't know. I love some of the men's responses, wanting to help me measure a house, you know, that kind of stuff. Different interactions with loan officers, AMCs. We used to have an AMC that would talk to me and then get off the phone and call my boss. And it's like, because apparently he couldn't trust me. I don't know. He was kind of a goofball. And I had a loan officer rip into me about the time the market was crashing. So it might have been more about the market crashing than about me being a woman, but his attitude was really inappropriate. But for overall, I have had pretty good experiences. Now, keep in mind, my husband does most of the inspections for us now. So most of my interactions are now more on the phone and stuff. But overall, I think I've had good experiences. Do I think they're different from men? I absolutely do think that I've had more experiences that are less optimal than probably men have. But I'm okay with that because people are people, and you know, whatever.
It's a good attitude to have. You said something I want to circle back to. I want to give Brianna a chance to kind of introduce how she got into this, fell into this, but her experience and how it might have been different. But you said something about trusting, and you specifically brought up other women. I want to circle back to that, if you don't mind, in just a second. But Brianna, talk to us a little bit about your experience getting into this. Do you feel your experience was any different than a man would have?
So I'm not sure if I would say it was different. I can say that when I took my classes, which would have been in the year 2001, I think there was, out of a class of maybe 40 people, 3 women. And I've with conventions that the ratio of male to female has definitely started to tighten up. I've definitely noticed there's more women getting into it. So as far as whether or not it's different, I'm not sure if I can say that. I think for me, the biggest difference in the scenario when it comes to women versus men is I've trained male trainees.
Okay.
And I always find it funny when I show up at a door and it's like they look past me and start talking to the trainee, until you have to tell them, like, I'm the appraiser, you need to talk to me. I think that's the biggest thing that I definitely come across as far as that male-female expectations or stereotypes of who the appraiser is.
Yeah, as if talking to your trainee, somehow they're going to understand their language better than you, the long-term appraiser, would be.
Correct.
Crazy. Cindy, you talked about trust. Tell me what you mean by that. You specifically said that sometimes even the women you feel are less trusting of you as a woman appraiser.
Yeah, I think, you know, they ask more questions, want to know how long have you been an appraiser, and kind of those probing questions to see if you have any clue what you're doing. And I just found it to be surprising when, there was, that women did that. But again, people are people, and maybe they would have done the same thing to a guy. I don't know. Sometimes you get that feeling that there's a difference there. And I don't look for that. I don't,
Right.
I don't expect that people will treat me differently because I'm a woman. So it's not an anticipated thing, but yeah, I mean, I think it's more that feeling, and then just asking questions that are, more probing, like as if I didn't have a clue what I was doing. So
You also said you sometimes have men offer to help you measure. Is that different than what women would offer? Do you see a different ratio there?
Women wouldn't follow me outside. No, the women will stay in the house. They might follow me in the house, but not outside. Thankfully.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's funny because I think I've had a slightly different experience being a woman, that I find that women and older people tend to be more at ease with me because I'm a woman in their house.
Interesting.
They don't feel as threatened. In fact, we've had times where we've had appointments where we've gone to make the appointment, and if it's just the wife that's home, the husband has told the wife, if it's a guy, schedule the appointment when I'm home. If it's a female, you can do it when I'm at work.
Interesting.
We've had those experiences where the husband isn't comfortable with the wife at home having a man show up at the house, but comfortable having a woman show up at the house.
Got it. Interesting. I want to pause for sponsors, but when we get back from the break, I want to, if there's any specific stories that you guys have that you would like to share, I would love to hear any specifics that you might have had. But I mostly want to end today on a positive note. But first, want to pause and remind you that we're sponsored by some great companies out there. Of course, Alamode. Alamode software is the software that I've been using for many, many years, almost 30, folks, and they've been in business almost 40 years, helping appraisers to do more. The built-in tools of Alamode are unprecedented. There's some great software out there, folks. Nothing like Alamode. Check them out by going to alamode.com, or you can learn more by calling them at 800-ALAMODE. Of course, OREP is my E&O of choice. Should be yours as well. How often do you think about E&O? Probably once a year. That's when I think about it, right? When we renew. Next time you renew, folks, ask yourself, are you getting the best value, and are you getting the most benefits? I promise you the answer is no if you're not using OREP. Check them out by going to orep.org. Again, it's orep.org. And welcome back to the program, everybody. Dustin Harris hanging out in the podcast chair right behind me there. There's the podcast chair. If you've not joined us on YouTube, I invite you to share in the video experience. If you're listening to this while you're out driving around, taking your comp photos, kind of a new experience for us over the last several weeks. We've been on YouTube. You can go to YouTube and just type in The Appraiser Coach. You'll find our channel, subscribe, and you won't miss an episode. Welcome back to the program, Cindy Collin and Brianne Ledbetter. Sure appreciate you both being on.
Thank you for having us.
It's really good to have you both. I wanted to circle back, find out if you guys have any specific experiences. You've both been in this a long time. Any experiences come to mind when the topic of the day is women in the appraisal world? By the way, Brianne, you mentioned statistics. I don't know what they were before as well. But I do know this. When I used to attend conferences, I would guess, and I never really took a head count, but my guess was maybe 20% of the individuals that were attending were female. I just looked up statistics, and about a third, about 32 to 33% of the appraisal industry is now women, which I think is awesome. I think the growth, in fact, and I would even go so far. I went to a conference in September. I went to the Val Expo, and again, I don't know specifically. I didn't walk around and count every head, but I would guess that at least 40% of the audience in those classes was female, which I think is great. So, specific experiences. Brianne, let's start with you.
I don't know if I can come up with anything as a specific detailed scenario, but I can tell you that more often than not, when I show up as a female with that typical macho guy who wants to kind of prove they're the man,
Yeah, Wait a second. There's none of us like that. What are you talking about?
They tend to like to mansplain. Like,
Mm.
I don't know anything about construction. I don't understand the difference between a gas furnace and an electric furnace, or, you know, just to even ask some of the typical questions, like when I see possibly, you know, efflorescence on a concrete block wall in the basement, to ask them if they have issues with water. It just, you know, as I ask more questions, they become a little bit more aware that I do know what I'm talking about. But yeah, the typical experience that's anything negative is just the mansplaining. So
Well, Brianne, let me explain to you why we do that. I'm just Cindy, anything particular come to mind?
I don't have any specific stories either. I agree with Brianne about that, and also about women feeling more comfortable with me in the house too, by myself. So yeah, but specific examples other than the loan officer going off on me, I don't really have any specific examples.
Well, I appreciate that. And I hope the listeners are getting kind of a, you know, a view, whether they're male or female, of your individual experiences. Let me ask you this, both of you. Are you glad you've done this? Do you look back with any regrets, or do you wish you'd gone a different direction in life?
absolutely no regrets at all. None.
Wow.
I love what I do.
Good for you.
It's been a challenging couple months, and I still tell people that I wake up every day and I actually don't mind getting into my office. I really don't. I don't think there's ever been a day where I've said, I don't want to do this. I've gotten a little frustrated recently, but that's about the extent of it. I love what I do.
Cindy, you expressed a little bit of disgruntledness, if you will, at the first of the program, with some of the changes that have happened the last couple of years. Any regrets getting into this?
Not at all. No, I have very much enjoyed it. We have, thankfully, because we went through the crash before and went through some really tough times, we've positioned ourselves way better for this. We have money in savings, so we're not a little anxious, you know, when you're not getting a lot of work, but but overall, and I just, you know, I really don't know where we'll go from here. I can't imagine giving up appraising. I think I've just gotten overwhelmed with life in general, and I think that's probably coloring how I handle with this stuff that's going on in our industry right now. But I do not regret it. We brought our daughter-in-law into the industry several years ago. I just think it's a great field, and I hope it continues to be.
Well, on that note, what advice do you guys have for young women who might be listening to this program? Believe it or not, there's a few non-appraisers who listen to the Appraiser Coach podcast that might be thinking about getting into it. What advice would you have for young women who are considering getting into this? Cindy, let's start with you.
Oh, gosh. I think learn all that you can before you jump in. Get a feel for, and talk to positive appraisers.
There's some out there? Wait a minute.
Oh my God. Yeah, just, you know, I think that, to me, that is, before you jump in, gain as much knowledge as you can about the industry, and find a good mentor. But I think go for it if you're settled in your heart that this is the right direction, because it is, can be very fulfilling.
Brianne, before you answer the same question, any advice that you would give, you brought up something, Cindy, that I forgot to ask, and that is mentors. Were either of your mentors men?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, both?
I had two, and they were both men.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that? Did that make it easier, harder, same? I guess you wouldn't know the opposite, but I'm curious what your experience was being trained.
Yeah, I don't think it was a gender thing for me. I think it was more a generation thing for me, where both of the gentlemen I trained under were kind of in the older age bracket. They came into the profession when you could still just write a number on a napkin on the hood of a car. I had to untrain myself from some of the habits that they put me through in order to be able to be competent with the way that things have kind of progressed with analyzing data and what you put in your reports. So some of that I've had to train myself, but I don't think any of it had to do with gender.
Okay. Cindy, feel the same way?
I had the benefit of having my best friend, which was a lady, her husband, and our boss, and no difference between gender. I think it was I was just with JR too, but just spectacular training. But there's no issues between the genders there at all.
Yeah,
No.
very good. I love hearing this. I really do. I'm glad to hear that your experiences have been overall positive. I mean, obviously there's the mansplaining, there's the trust issue, but I think overall it's been positive. Brian, bring us home. What would you say to individuals who are looking to get into this, specifically young ladies out there?
So I'm going to just basically reiterate what Cindy had said, and that is, I think, paramount to anything, regardless of male, female, is to find a quality training supervisor. Because if you don't find a quality training supervisor, it's hard to stay up to date with how things have been evolving and learning how to do reports in a way that are going to be credible. I've just seen I've had so many experiences in the past where even just a lady that I have right now on staff, trying to untrain the wrong way of doing things. And it's difficult because that becomes ingrained and it's hard to kind of put the brakes on and redo it. So it's better to just get trained correctly from the start.
Brian Ledbetter, Cindy Collin, thank you. You guys are wonderful. I do consider you my best of friends, and I do appreciate you taking the time to be on, sharing your experiences. My best to both of you and your families, and in moving forward in this great profession. Again, thank you. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you. Dustin.
Same to you.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.